As my colleague Sally mentioned, I coordinate the Foodshift Acceleration Lab in Spain, a lab with a mission to help citizens to prototype their ideas to improve and innovate the food system, develop and replicate in a sustainable way. This laboratory was born in the framework of the Foodshift 2030 project with the aim of promoting a change in the food system, but with a particular focus on the citizen participation. With this same mission, 9 acceleration labs were set up in 9 different cities in the Europe Union, each with its own particular approach. The laboratory are in here. Ay, no puedo pasar. I can. This. The laboratory are in Ostend, Wrocław, Copenhagen, Brussels, Athens, Bari, Avignon, and Barcelona lab. Here at Barcelona, a lab for Barcelona, we developed the Food Tech program in acceleration, Food Tech 3.0 acceleration program with 3 main pillars: technology as a tool, open innovation as a model, and as a model of social economy, and citizen participation as an engine to drive change. This first edition has promoted 10 citizen initiatives at different points and the value chain of the food system. With the task of each of the acceleration labs of the Foodshift 2030 project, we find the Foodshift 2030 Enable Labs training program, in which each of the acceleration labs invites 3 cities within the European Union to work together to multiply the impact of the innovators in the food system with the power of the network. Barcelona has joined forces with Barcelona has joined forces with Ars Longa in Paris, a non-profit organization for the production and the presentation of cross-cutting projects in the areas of the new media art, creative technology, education, urban design, collaborative design, and digital fabrication. It emphasizes innovative process in the field of the new technologies, sustainable development, and promotes access to learning for citizens and young people. Open Dot in Milan is community of creators, artisans, developers, designers, heterogeneous and multidisciplinary creators of maker culture. There are the Fab Lab open and accessible to all of the space for innovation, research, and experimentation, and the use of the technology of the rapid prototype and digital fabrication with the philosophy on collaboration in exchange of knowledge and experiment. Positioning itself and meeting point between new skills and traditional knowledge. The Hamburg Climate Protection Foundation in the Hamburg, whose mission is promote environmental, natural, and climate protection, as well as art and culture based on the model of sustainable development. To this end, it developed its own measures on projects mainly in Hamburg, with the aim of improving climate protection and raising awareness. I have to say, these 3 institutions are part of the Fab Lab network, an open and creative community of makers, artisans, scientists, engineers, educators, students, hobbyists, and professionals located in more than 100 countries in 1,750 Fab Labs worldwide. This is how Paris, Milan, and Hamburg joined the project to help us to create this multiplier impact. And so it was that the first meet physical here in Barcelona, when we shared own visions from each of the 3 institutions on how we could promote the improvement of the food system. And from the meeting, we start the organization to bring to you this initiative that will have the opportunity to meet now and that work hard to achieve a fairer, healthier, and less carbon emit food system. If you are interested in contributing to this change, don't hesitate to look for the drivers of this initiative in your own city. If you have an idea, if you want to put into the practice, don't hesitate to work in network. There are many institutions and initiatives that can help you. The Ars Longa, Open Dot, Fab City Hamburg, and many more that can you find in Foodshift 2030 project network or the FabLab.io network also. I hope this webinar will inspire to you improve of the food system and throughout the health and of the planet. I think no more. Become of the change in your community. Thank you. Thank you, Sally.
Great. Thank you so much, Gabby. And now it's time to hear from our participating organizations. We're going to hear an example from different parts of the food chain, from production to consumption to recycling. Each organization will give a Pecha Kucha style presentation, meaning they will present 20 slides, having only 20 seconds each a slide. So this is no small feat. So think about this when you're hearing the presentations as well. They had to get all of these amazing details, all of these examples just down into 20 seconds. First up, we have Andreas Pense, co-founder of Vastun, Foundation for Social Commitment in Hamburg. And joining Andreas is Lina Varolman, an active participant in Vastun. Vastun is an organization with two very interesting projects. There is Stadtgemüse, which is translated to City Vegetable, a community urban gardening project, and Naturzeit. Naturzeit is a practice-based educational program that aims to increase children's appreciation of nature. So let's hear it from you, Andreas and Lina.
Thank you, Sally, so much for introducing us, and really thank you to all of you who organized this for having us. We feel very honored. We even just learned how active Hamburg is. We believe we are quite active, but through this introduction already, we understand that Hamburg is doing a lot, and so we have more to explore in our city. I'm so happy to have Lina with me, the daughter of one of the couples who co-founded together with my wife and myself this foundation. And if we can please start from the first slide, and then I'll leave the floor to Lina, and I'll join back in the middle of the presentation. And please don't be too hard on us on the 20 seconds. Thank you. Lina, over to you.
All right, thank you. So the name of our foundation, Was Tun, translates into do something. It was founded in 2017 by 5 couples, now 10 close friends, who want to do something. All earnings of the foundation are generated via public funds and donations and flow directly back into the projects. The motive behind the foundation is to strengthen environmental education, integration, and protection of the environment. The first project we established is Naturzeit. It is an environmental education program for children of socially deprived backgrounds. And we're today teaching 14 classes from several schools around Hamburg. The second project, which we want to introduce in detail today, is called Stadtgemüse, which can be more or less translated to urban veggies. So everything started in 2018 when we constructed our first raised bed at a refugee camp in the Hafen City. The original idea was presented to us by Oscar, one of the sons of the founders. He saw a similar project in Gothenburg and inspired us to implement the same project in Hamburg. Even though none of us had an idea how to properly build a raised bed, how to successfully grow vegetables, or had experience in integrational work, we still decided to try it. Together with the residents of the refugee accommodation, we managed to work and learn at eye level. Some were already experienced in farming and got the chance to apply themselves into the project. We gained experience in the course of that, had the chance to give them an understanding of the German language and culture. Sadly, this location had to be closed since the property was sold, but still we managed to build 3 new locations for raised beds at refugee accommodations. So now to our current locations. All 3 evolved a bit differently. And the first one is Waldweg. At this location, we managed to implement the raised beds right into the middle of the community of the refugees. And in the Eulenkrugstraße, the second location, the raised beds are publicly available, even though the neighborhood is not that intensely involved into the project yet, as that an interaction between the refugees and the neighbors has yet evolved. But that is exactly one of our goals with Stadtgemüse, Urban Veggies, to create a space that allows interaction. And lastly, we have another set of raised beds at Lütteloge. And at this location, the preconditions were a bit different than from the other two, since this refugee accommodation is hosting Somali women and children in need of protection. So it took a lot of creativity and targeted attention to spark the residents' interest and convince them to participate regularly in the project. And nevertheless, we are very happy how things have turned out, since the collaboration between the residents of the accommodation and the neighbors work especially well at this location at Lütteloge.
Oh, so I go from here. So the ultimate motive behind Stadtgemüse Urban Veggies is to strengthen the community. When setting up our first location, we realized that only the male residents showed interest in collaborating with us, first of all. We then found out that the women could only be attracted if the children were actively involved into the project already, which now has become a focus for our engagement. For all three locations, we proceed equally. Well, during springtime, we start preparing the seeds to replant them into the raised beds as soon as the temperatures allow it. And now that the seeds are replanted, we think it is important to collectively design and to set up signs that describe what is growing in the raised beds in different languages, as you can see here. We try to include refugees as much as possible into the whole process of planting, planning, and executing. This means that we do decide with them collaboratively about what we want to plant and when and where. And at our youngest location at Lütteloge, we even invented a workshop together with them. So this is one of our project managers. They are at location once a week. So that means also that a clear task allocation needs to happen so that we get along with the planting of the vegetables. Regular watering, just one of the examples. But also to keep the raised beds in a good condition, we want the refugees to think of them as their personal garden. Nevertheless, everyone surely is allowed to utilize herbs or the like for their daily use if needed. And especially important for us is to return to the value of what is regionally and seasonally available. We plant and test what grows under our local climate conditions. We try new methods, as you see here, for example, self-made greenhouses, and we like to experiment a lot. We work perennially all through the year at all three locations. So that means even during winter, even though harvesting and planting food is a bit tricky during winter time due to the cold, of course, our project managers always come up with alternative ideas and projects during those periods. While here in the summertime, we built a greenhouse. After harvesting the veggies during winter, it's always a big treat when we all cook together and share recipes from different cultures. This has really become a great exchange between refugees, residents, and us as a foundation. Another favorite was when the group designed Christmas wreaths, which really gave them a feeling of community. Here you can see what we also do. That's an excursion. So we went to a farm close to Hamburg and harvested potatoes. So for the future, we're planning to create a so-called green oasis all around Hamburg in collaboration with the Loki Schmidt Foundation. These oases are supposed to not only grow vegetables and support community, but to enlarge biodiversity across the city. We want to give examples that regional olericulture and a sustainable lifestyle can be creative, colorful, and affordable. We want to create spaces that allow for workshops and people to meet with the aim to create inner city networks, allow for exchange, and build a community of like-minded people in Hamburg. The ideal scenario for us would be to create mobile raised beds that can be set up temporarily and move from place to place within the city. that's it for us. So we really like to thank you for having us and for your attention.
Thank you so much, Andreas and Lina. Wow, that's really excellent to see these collaborative processes that are coming out of Hamburg. And we will get into that more. Hopefully, there will be some nice questions for you to find out even more. Next up, we have Damien Rousseau, founder and director from Chrysalim in Paris. Chrysalim is a nonprofit association dedicated to developing everyone's power to act on their diet and the collective capacity to change our food systems to face the climate, health, and social crises of the 21st century. Damien, the word is over to you.
Okay, thank you. Hi, everybody. Okay, Sally, you can start with the next slide for the presentation, please. Okay, so at Chrysalim, we steer programs to create locally based empowerment groups through food sharing and cooking. And we think that the main issue with citizen communities is motivation. This is what we'll talk about here. So a community often starts with a simple idea or event, like learning to make mayonnaise that suits your own specific taste. Let's have this analogy between mayonnaise and community building, and let's find a simple recipe with the basic ingredients. So first is bonding. One egg yolk is enough for a mayonnaise. So if people feel listened to, respected, tied to a greater goal that includes them, they will have greater chances to participate, stay, and come back. Yes, you can get to the next slide. So the second is framing. You need to beat oil with the egg yolk. That means organizing interactions that works for the group, for the community. Too much, they run away. Too few, they stop coming. Sharing responsibility by defining the frame with the group when you can is essential, so that people will get into the community. Next is seasoning. So community belongs to its members and should look and feel alike. So we intend to let people find their place and role, help them express their authentic selves, feel at ease, so they will get motivation building to imply into the group. Now, mayonnaise, it's not for rich people only. We took the challenge to make it available for economically and socially disadvantaged people, students, young workers, also beneficiaries of food aid, and we try to make the community work for them. Who are like bonsai trees from Mohamed Yunus? It means that what you have to create to empower poor people is to create conditions for them to seize opportunity as any other people. This is how we started to create our citizen groups, locally based citizen groups. The situation for the people we chose was food aid beneficiaries. We observed that people receiving food aid do not develop the conditions to remove from food aid and find their own resilience, their own capacity building. So the third is about resources accessibility. We wanted to invent a space where poor people can work together as a peer-to-peer group to develop knowledge about their inner and outer resources, not only external, but also their own resources. To do that, we came up with the idea to create mutual food assistance groups, so peer-to-peer groups that would gather on a regular basis. We initiate dynamics with some workshops and shared meal, and then we encourage them to call it the group and suggest topics and activities to get capacity. What the egg on the recipe? It's about sharing a meal, a family meal with strangers that do not know each other. This is how we create bonds. Then the oil, it's about having regular meal talks, shared meal with animated by facilitator that will help talk about food issues, situations, needs, and resources to make a match between them. Then the spice was about organizing collective cooking sessions where the people choose and prepare the menu, but indeed they are the menu participants, because we were all hungry about others' life and experience, about sharing their thoughts and feelings. How did we get participation? It could not have worked without the help of local partners already connected to them, social workers, educators for youth, and that mobilize them and promote the programs and workshops. Another topic was language. When we talk with disadvantaged people, we need to find the good language that respect them, includes them, and show them how to take the correct steps to engage into the community. So what's the recipe we wanted to deliver here based on these mutual food assistance groups? First, citizens, when they are not moved by fear, anger, or the constraints, are moved by desire. You don't order citizens. So relationships that create purpose and confidence are the only powerful engine I know about community building. This desire brings energy, but to go where? Citizen communities needs also a target destination. This is a role of a simple and challenging vision that fit with concrete people, not on some ideal or absolute vision. It's about a vision for the people. And then, of course, you have to visualize the steps, help people see the step they can take, so they're confident to take it. It's especially important with vulnerable people. Together, let's share more than just a meal. That's our headline. So we help young and vulnerable people to empower themselves through the locally based mutual food assistance groups. This is our job, and thank you for your attention.
Thank you so much, Damian. I really like the mayonnaise analogy you used. Simple ingredients, but key ingredients, getting to that bonding interactions and building motivation. That was really super. Thank you. So now we're on to our next presenter, Alberto Picardo, who's the Vice President and co-founder from Recoup in Milan. Recoup is a project that aims to combat food waste and promote active citizenship, recovering unsold food from marketplaces, selecting it and sharing it with people that are participating in the project. Alberto, please go ahead.
Hi there. Yeah, you told everything, so I can skip, my joke. I'll try to do my best. In English is not my first language, so forgive me my mistakes. And as Sally says, Recoup is really, was a small association that faced two big problems. So food waste and people in need, so social exclusion. So what we really do is using food waste to get close to these people in the street market. We started more or less 7 years ago when one single person alone decided to, face these two problems. So a lot of food waste in the end of the markets and helping people diving in the trash. And from that moment, we started this huge project. So it's based on volunteering people. As you can see, what we can do is really collect all the leftovers from the commerciants in the end of the street market. And we started in 2015, just in Milano, just in one market. And day by day, year by year, we started to increase the community and increase the tons we save every week. So we started from one market and 5 person 7 years ago, and right now we are more or less 300 people between Rome and Milano. So two different cities and in 20 different markets. More or less the average, the food we save is around 10 tons by now. So it was a really huge jump on, a huge scale up of the project. And the real cool thing is the community we built. So just 3 people are getting money every month just in part-time, so it's not like a really full-time job. So all the work, all the job we are continuing, keep going, is based on volunteer people. From the from images, you can see some leftovers we saved from the markets. And another really cool thing is that the people who is participating here in the markets are completely volunteering and coming from different worlds, different how do you say, nations, ages, everything. So the cool thing is that we really create spontaneous teams from people from 16 years old, more or less, until 80. And so it's a super various and super, really super funny. Safe foods all together. In this image, you can see Elena is one of the board, and she's really important right now because it's the person who is in charge to getting money from public funds, not just in Milano, but also like European one. And another thing's pretty cool is this image talking about fairs. So we not just save food from the street markets and the main one, but also from all the fairs here in Milano. So we are, how do you say, we are participating to this fair as a no food waste partner. And in the end of the fairs, we could save more or less 80% of the food that was sold during the events. These are not 20 seconds per image, or maybe less. By the way, I'm running faster. Since 2 years, more or less, we are now in the main market in Milano. Is the biggest market in Italy and is one of the most important in Europe, because all the foods and all the fruits and vegetables coming from all over the world are stopping by Milano and then continue their travel all around the Europe. And here in this main market, more or less in just 2 hours on Tuesday, we could save more or less 4 or 5 tons of food, and it's a really huge amount. It's like more or less like a military tank. 4 tons of food is a lot of meals, a lot of people. Based on the FAO calculation, is more or less 2.5 kilos per family every week. So 5 tons are like 2,000 families every week getting food from just 2 hours in the main market. Then what we do, you can see in this new picture, is painting laboratory. So we getting the colors from all the leftovers we saved the day before, maybe in the market, and then we use to educate people, educate children especially, during the school time or in the different events, so they can be sensibilized about the topic. Here I am with the vice mayor of Milano 2 years ago, when we received a really cool award. It's called Ambrogino d'Oro. Is like one of the most important award from the city of Milano, and every year they recognize project involved to a social and also sport things. And this is another huge award. It was with the food policy, and we were part of the network that won the Earthshot Pride from the royal family in London. So food policy was recognized as one most influential food policy in the world, and we were in the same team with the other association. So this award was really stimulation for us. In this other picture, you can see a really small part of the volunteers in the main market in Milano. So every Thursday, more or less, we are 15, 20 people trying to save as much as we can. I mean, as much food as we can. And it's not just related to schools and pension people, but also with employees. So we started this new process with the companies, small and big companies that want to sensibilize their employees throughout corporate social responsibility process. So we can really make a team super mixed between people with skills and knowledge and people that just, I mean, studying, or people that are in pension, or people that are doing social services because they maybe get caught drunk while driving. So it's super various. And in these last pictures are more related to workshop, that it's a really cool moments for us to get close to new potential volunteers and new potential maybe funders, who knows. And the last one here is about cooking. So I mean, we are talking food, especially here in Italy. Food is maybe one of the most important things before health, and so it's easier to get close to people or get in touch with new people making food for like a social dinner during the night, and trying to get funds also from this moments. I don't know if I skip some part. The format is pretty simple. So if you are stopping by Milano or Rome, and if you want to meet us, we are working every day on our website. Maybe we can post it then on the chat. In like less than 2 hours, you can see really witness about food waste and social exclusion.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Alberto. And we'll keep that in mind to come and visit you in Milano. Those are really incredible numbers that you mentioned as well, that just in 2 hours at the market, you can save 4 to 5 tons of food. It really says a lot about the change too that needs to be made to not have that food going to waste, to change our mentality. To not have this happening, but it's excellent that it is able to go to people in need. And so now I'll thank you again for your presentation. And I'm going to turn the word over to our last presenter today, Matías Verderau, who's the director and founder from Lichin in Barcelona. Lichin is a social innovation laboratory that promotes public-private community collaboration, designing and implementing open citizen participation and engagement processes to create innovative, inclusive, and committed solutions to face today's great challenges. Matías, thanks for joining us. Over to you.
Thank you, Sally. Okay, so good afternoon, everyone. Can we go the first one, please? There, okay. So good afternoon, everyone. My name is, as already Sally said, Matias Verderó, and I am the Director of Lichen Social Innovation. Sofia can join us today, but she apologizes. So today we're going to talk about communities and what we have learned over the years about this topic. Okay. So to begin with, Lichen is a social innovation laboratory that promotes collaboration between communities and public and private entities, NGOs, research centers, and basically we empower citizens through participatory processes to develop solutions to relevant problems in different areas, as health, science, mobility, urban design, etc. So in these years of working with people, we have learned a couple of things that we want to share today. We will go into more detail later, okay? So first, the relevance of having champions within the communities. Second, to be transparent and open in our processes. Third, to activate the spaces for participation. Fourth, building a narrative, a storytelling. Fifth, trigger collaboration between different types of actors or stakeholders. And finally, to be committed and never leave our community. No. So I will present different projects in different contexts, but with a common community-centered approach. So the first example is a citizen lab around urban revitalization challenges through culture. For example, one of the prototyped projects was a gastronomic route based on the culinary heritage of the city. We did this project in Santa Cruz, Bolivia during the pandemic, and we did it completely remotely. So it was very, very important and a key to success to have local people, ambassadors, or real people within the community who can connect with the people and achieve real engagement. No, so that was the first tip. No, the second example is a laboratory on urban health issues that we implement in Barcelona, and now a couple of weeks ago were implemented in Morocco. In this case, we work with open and free documentation from citizen science, data, tools, prototyping processes, Canvas templates that we use, presentations, etc. Everything is open and accessible on the project's website. So this has also made it easier for us to replicate the project in such an efficient way, for example, in the case of Morocco. So here the key is to be transparent and share as much as possible, not only the successes, but also the mistakes and the problems that we're going through the project. And this is the only way that we can improve ourselves and also the communities now to implement better projects. Okay, a good example of participation is the case of Traballem más B or Traballem plus B. It's a labor inclusion project that we are developing with the B Corp movement in Spain, where we have activated participation processes, both at the citizen level and also with the experts in this area. No? And when working with the communities, it's very, very important to ask and listen rather than tell, no? To ask the people and understand the issues in a deeper way. In the next case, related to storytelling, the Endemic project is a very good example. We, in this project that connects scientific dissemination in antimicrobial resistance, citizen participation, and ethnobotany, all through art and culture. So it's a very complex and distant topic. What we did to approach this abstract and not very everyday subject was to build a narrative that has to do with relating the macro problems of the planet with the micro problems on a bacterial or virus scale, no, related to the COVID, highlighting the interrelation of everything and approaching these subjects through a common story. In the case of collaboration with different actors closely related to the transition of food system, is the Almacén de Residuos, or something like a waste warehouse, a project that seeks to be a collaborative space for the community, coordinating local restaurants and urban gardens, the districts and the neighbors, to rethink the way of organizing the neighborhood's organic waste. First, waste collection is carried out by committed sites, followed by a process of dehydration, and treatment, to finish with a community workshops on different topics. For example, in the first pilot, we carried out workshops to create soaps, paper, and dehydrated food based on organic waste. So in this case, it's a good example of collaboration between different kind of actors or stakeholders of the neighborhood. Okay, and finally, a good example of engagement is We Count. That is a European project where we have collaborated with Ideas for Change about citizen science on urban mobility issues. So basically, the citizens collect data through digital sensors, the one that you can see in the picture, data about mobility and at this micro scale of the neighborhood to influence urban design and public policies, etc. So the project went very well, but one of the problems of these communities was that they couldn't communicate their data to their neighbors. They only achieved a digital communication, and they needed to reach the street. No, based on this need, which we identified through a participatory process, we collaborated with Jose Duarte, that is a Colombian designer, and developed a device to communicate data in an analog way, and also generate a dialogue and participatory processes, communicating the data that had been collected digitally in physical and analog format on the streets. No. And finally, as a bonus, my last advice that my colleagues here already talk about is that food brings us together. No, it helps us to be more comfortable, and that's a lot. So always having food and drinks at the workshops helps to facilitate the conversations and relationships. So thank you.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Matthias. It's nice to see as well, throw some other examples into the mix, and to see the breadth of these types of participatory processes. And I particularly liked what you're saying about forming community champions and really have that drive coming from the community. So now we're going to thank you again and move on to our questions and answers. So first up, we have a question for Andreas and Lina. What strategies do you typically use to keep the community engaged throughout the co-design and the cultivation process? Do you have any specific barriers in working with the varied profiles of people that you mentioned, like refugees, locals, children?
Yep, thank you, Sally. And each of them being a challenge in itself. But I think the key for the question to the strategy, the key was from the beginning, well, that was our learning curve, really, to make sure that, and it's whoever posed the, Milena, yes, you wrote the question, you fully grasped that Stadtgemüse, the urban veggies, is not only about growing veggies, but it's equally important about integration of refugees. So, of course, probably the bigger challenge was how to keep people from all sorts of different cultures engaged in the process. And the most important lessons for us to learn in the beginning was that we had to achieve to present these raised beds as if it was not some sort of a donation and whatever, a mild act of of social help, but that really we came to establish their own gardens. So the moment they understood, okay, well, this is not working on a garden that was really donated by someone, this is really working on our own gardens. So these are here, and these will only really bring harvest and make fun and bring people together if we, the refugees in this case, take care of them. So that was the biggest lesson in terms of refugees, and keep them engaged. What we did not expect, the even bigger challenge still up to until to date, is to have neighbors, residents around involved. Everyone seems to be so much involved in her own bubble that it's always challenging to really bring those people together. There actually a lot depends on the location. So our very first location that was down in the harbor side of Hamburg, it was really a bit of a nightmare to reach, and it was very hard to really motivate people, neighbors from further away to go there and participate in the project. The last one, the youngest one, the Lütteloge project, is in the heart of Hamburg, and there it's much easier because people, school children walk by in the morning, parents walk by in the afternoon picking up their children. There's a lot of commuting back and forth, and that has triggered a nice traffic into the garden. And so then it was important to organize a fixed date where people know, okay, that's when the project manager is there, when the majority of the refugees would be working there. And that has turned out to be a Wednesday afternoon, and that's where most of the people group and gather.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Andreas, for elaborating there. That's a really good point of what you say about accessibility, no? Having if something can be part of your routine, if it can be something that is on the way, it becomes much easier to participate, especially when you're working with a diverse group of stakeholders that might not always have access to private transport, or maybe there's difficulties with public transport. That's a way to really continue to encourage people to go to where they are, no? And we have another question for your team as well. This person is looking for advice. They're working with people in Artsakh, which is an Armenian region currently being in blockade from Azerbaijan. So they're saying that they're dealing with about 120,000 people that are stuck in this blockade and are unable to access food for several months. And they want to, this person wants to send seeds and organize community garden movements to grow food. Do you have any suggestions on how to organize it best? As the person that asked this question.
It's of course it's horrible, and I wish we could just in this group find a way to help most efficiently. Our perspective is really the one to help those who also actually from those countries, from Syria, from Afghanistan, who came to Germany as refugees, and help them find their way into society here, which is one of the biggest challenges of the German society since a couple of years, of course. How to organize help on location, on the ground. Unfortunately, we're not the right people to give advice on this, but I'm sure there are, well, maybe in this group there are other people who would know better, but also with that amount of people sitting in a blockade, the world, or well, some of the food programs organized by the United Nations, they will for sure have at least information how to approach and how to actually send and transport stuff over there.
Yeah, I see. This is a very difficult case if you are not able to physically be there, as this person is commenting. It would have to be online, and while there may be things to do to mobilize it, if there are feet on the ground or persons, at least that you are able to get in contact with someone there, I think that would be an important first step, but also going through other channels that are already existing and do have access to this region. So thank you, Andreas, for taking the time to consider this question. We had another question for Recoup and Lichen. What insight would you give to a Fab Lab and network of women interested to tackle food waste issues across 15 local markets in Peru? Any ideas in terms of new community business opportunities upcycling food waste?
I go first. I mean, it's pretty tough questions. Um, First of all, maybe the first advice I can give is just, I mean, focus from one local market, and then create process with the first one, and then you will see with the others. And what really helped us was a really close um, conversation, really close. How to say? I forgot the word, with the municipality. With for example, here in Milan, we had a food policy field from the municipality, but some institution that really can help you out with other networks and with other contacts. So the network is something that it's really important with in this project. So what I suggest to you is trying to spread your project with other stakeholders, institutions first, or even university, and then try to have really close contact with the commerciants in the markets, because they're going to be the first stakeholder, because they're going to donate all the food. So try to have a good conversation with them, and then you will see step by step. It's patience and time. It's something that it's not skippable.
Thank you, Alberto. And we are running out of time. So Matthias, if you want to respond, but maybe give like a 30 seconds response, that would be amazing.
Well, totally agree with Alberto. That's the key to start, but also in the case of the Almacén de Residuos, in our case, that we have almost 30 workshops based on organic waste. I think it's important from one side to align to the market, to develop things that you can sell in that way, that have demand, to say in one way. Communication, we're very fans of big communication strategies. This is very important, and it makes the difference. And also considering technical issues and the tools that you need to develop different products or projects based on organic waste. So that's my 30-second answer, Sally.
Great, thank you, Matt. Yes, super timely. So that's all the time that we have for questions. We have about 30 seconds left. So I just wanted to take the opportunity to thank all of our participants today, to thank the team that was helping get everyone here as well. And we're looking, well, okay, right before I say goodbye, I will do a very quick wrap up just to recapture a little bit of the thoughts that came from today. We heard about food as ways to connect people. We heard about working with groups of diverse stakeholders and that being key to get things moving. And we heard about working in networks. Those are just some of the ideas that we heard from today. And I think one of the key quotes that we got was from Damian. He said, "You don't order citizens." There has to be a desire for them to build with you, to all of you to build together, not just building for them. So I think that's a great way to close for today. And we look forward to having you join us for our next webinar, which will be on technology, most likely in May. You can keep up to date on our newsletter for the announcement of that next webinar. Thank you again all for joining us today.